Hello, welcome to Sarah Overbooked. I am Sarah, and today I'm doing an August recap, and we're gonna go over what I read and what goes back into my TBR pile. For a quick recap of what my August TBR was, first prompt I had was an art book, and I picked The Silent Patient by Alex McLadies. The second one was a book from a reading list, and I chose 6 Weeks by Mur Lafferty for the 52 book club's connections reading challenge. The third one was a new author to me, and the book for that was The God in the Woods by Liz Moore. The fourth was Folklore or Fairy Tale, and I chose Briar Rose by Jane Yolen. The fifth was a translated work, and I had Homer's The Iliad. The sixth was a debut novel, and I chose Andy Weir's The Martian. The seventh was a paperback, and that was The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. The eighth was a book in a series, and I chose How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. And the ninth was the book I chose because I finished, and that is Abaddon's Gate by James S.A. Corey. So, the first thing we'll go through are the books I did not prioritize and did not get to reading this month. And that would be, I did not finish Abaddon's Gate. This is a buddy read though, and we aren't even halfway as of right now, so in the process, but not finished. And then How to Become the Dark Lord and Die Trying. Didn't even pick it up, didn't even look at it. It has been moved over to my September TBR because it is one that I want to read. But you couldn't tell by the way I ignored it in August. It went from a series book to a book with a building on it. And then the next casualty, the next one going back into the TBR is The Martian by Andy Weir. I loved Project Hail Mary so much. Everybody says this one's good, yet I still don't continue to pick it up. I don't know why. Back to the TBR it is. The next one, The Iliad, did not pick it up. Also, I really loved The Odyssey. Have not fully read The Iliad. I've read parts of it. Just don't know why I don't pick that up. Well, it's partly my copy, I think, because it's an old school copy of my aunt's, and I just need to get a new copy. Just need to go to the library and pick it up, and I'll read it. The next casualty is The God in the Woods. I chose this one because the independent bookstore near my work is having a book discussion on it. It was part of their book club, but they only have a certain amount of room, so you have to sign up. I'm not really good at signing up right away, so I missed it. I didn't get in, and that book got put to the side and was not made, I did not make it a priority. So those are the books on my TBR in August that I did not read and will be put back into the TBR pile to be chosen at a later date. So the books that I did read, I did read The Silent Patient by Alex McLadies. I enjoyed it. It is a book that it seems like people either really like or really don't like. So The Silent Patient, it was a decent book. It was about Alicia. I don't remember her last name. Alicia. She is accused of shooting her husband, but since that night when they found her and her dead husband, she has not said a word, so she is being held in a facility called The Grove, a mental hospital for dangerous people. and she's been there for the past 6 years. It's also about her doctor, Dr. Faber, I think is Theo Faber. He's a criminal psychotherapist who takes a job at the Grove specifically because Alicia is there. He wants to be her, he wants to treat her. It isn't exactly a fast-paced read. It kind of meanders through a couple of bits. So it does slow the story down a little bit, but none of that meandering seemed to be completely out of place or just completely unnecessary for the story, so I didn't really mind it. I had a good time reading it. That's really all that matters, right? I had a good time reading this book, but it would not be something that I would universally recommend to people. The pace and some of the mechanics that it uses, I don't think everybody would like, and it has proven that everybody does not like this book. So, The Silent Patient, the first book in my August TBR that I read. Alright, the second book in my August TBR that I read was Briar Rose by Jane Yolen. Read this one for the folklore fairy tale. Briar Rose is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, and it's gonna be hard to tell you what this is about without spoiling anything, because that's basically all it tells you in the synopsis, is it is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty. I can tell you that it interweaves a story of the Holocaust, but that is pretty much all that is in the synopsis, and I don't want to spoil anything if anybody wants to read this. It was good. The story itself was good, but the story was really only maybe 2/3 of the book. 1/3 of it was the wind up, the getting to know the main character. What was her name? Rebecca. Getting to know Becca and her history, and how the story of Sleeping Beauty is brought into her life. And that part I could have done without. I didn't really care about Becca, but when we got to the actual story of interweaving it with the Holocaust, I enjoyed that. So yeah, can't really tell you anything. It's a short story, less than 200 pages. Don't want to ruin it if you decide to read it for yourself. But that is the second book on my August TBR that I did read. And the third book on my August TBR that I read is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This one, it was really just the last quarter that I enjoyed. I really liked story leading up to that part. It was mostly just the main character, I think, that I didn't really connect with. I didn't really enjoy reading about or from her perspective. So this book is about a group of final girls who went through their trauma, the monsters, the Halloween, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Scream, the prom night, etc. And they all meet once a month for a support group, and one of them doesn't show up one week, and they find out that somebody is coming after them. Our main character, Lynette, she is paranoid. She is PTSD to the extreme, and that just, it got on my nerves. It got to the point where she was just whiny, and yeah. At a point, though, she does flip she flips and decides she needs to fight, and that's when I started enjoying the book instead of being annoyed by the book. Yeah, I don't really know much more to say about this one. It was 2/3, 1/3 really annoying, 1/3 slightly annoying, and 1/3 I liked it. So there's that. And the last book on my August TBR that I read was 6 Wakes by Mir Lafferty. So this book is an interesting twist on a closed room murder mystery. It's a popcorn mystery thriller that it was just very entertaining and fun to read. Not the best prose, but I don't expect that from this type of book, really. Maria awakens, our main character Maria awakens in her clone vat, and she's surrounded by a gruesome scene and has no recollection of how her previous self died. That is not good. Something is terribly wrong with this whole situation. You find out right away in the first chapter, and now she has to figure out who she can trust on the crew and what happened in the time frame that she can't remember, just to figure out who it was that killed her and left the gruesome scene that she woke up to. I don't think this would truly be anybody's favorite book of the year, but it was fast-paced, entertaining, it was a good ride, and it's definitely recommendable for those looking for a quick escapism type read or a palate cleanser that like science fiction murder mystery. I enjoyed this one. So that is what I read and did not read from my August TBR, but that is not all that I read in August. I also managed to read by ignoring my TBR. So the first book I finished in August was Alice in Borderland Volume 8. And it's not the only Alice in Borderland book that I read in August, so we will talk about those all together when we get there. The second book I finished in August was an audiobook that I was listening to for reading, and I did listen to this one a little bit at work because I actually enjoyed it and I wanted to pay more attention to it. Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by Clay McLeod Chapman. I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed this one a lot. It relates with what is happening in the US quite a bit right now. But basically, it's a book about half of the population being brainwashed by a news station and being woken up, and when they are woken up, they're not quite zombies, but it's kind of like they're zombies. They start attacking each other. They start just not taking care of themselves, just wandering the streets, attacking anybody who wasn't part of the assimilation. And it was well done. It could have been because I listened to the audiobook. I'm not quite sure how it would go as a physical book because there is mixed media in there. I don't know, maybe one day I'll read it and see, but I enjoyed the audiobook, and I don't say that very often. Next book I read in August was Blood on the Tracks Volume 9, and then I also read Blood on the Tracks Volume 10. I also read Blood on the Tracks Volume 11, 12, and 13 in August. There are 17 of those. This is a manga series where I'm not quite sure what I feel about it. It's kind of boring, but then it has some parts that are really interesting and it keeps my attention and I want to find out what's happening. So I don't know if I'd ever really recommend this to anybody just because of that, but I'm on volume 13 of 17 and I'm still not quite sure what the hell's going on. I'll do a full review when I finish and have full and complete thoughts on it. And then I finished the Alice in Borderland series, volume 9. I did enjoy this. I enjoyed the whole series. The worst volume was volume 5, in my opinion. Didn't really need to be there. It was more just side stories than following the main overarching story. But Borderland is basically a place where you have to play games to survive. If your visa runs out, you die, and you get time on your visa by playing these games, which if you lose the game, you die. The players are dealing with the last of the royalty games, and once the last game is played, once all the royalty is done, nobody's quite sure, but they think they get to go home, or they can choose to stay and become citizens and put the games on for the next group. Volume 9 actually answers the story or the question of what is Borderland. And the answer to that, which of course I'm not going to tell you because I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but I found it interesting. It didn't disappoint, but it also didn't quite live up to my expectations of what I was wanting or thinking it would be. I don't know if that makes any sense, but basically when I read it, I just kind of stopped, looked up, went, huh, and then went back to reading. But overall, it was an interesting and entertaining series. I would recommend this one to people. Yeah. Also in August, I read Demon Slayer Volume 7, 8, 9, and 10. And this is another one that I will review when I finish the series. Unlike Blood on the Tracks, Demon Slayer is a fun series where you have demon slayers training and going out and killing demons. I am enjoying this one and I would recommend it to people. So yeah. Also in August, I read Know My Name, a memoir by Chanel Miller. If you hear a noise, that's the cat knocking over the stack of books. So Know My Name is the author's account of her personal experiences with the aftermath of being assaulted on a college campus. She takes us through her life from the day of the attack all the way through writing the book, which is very much still a part of her healing from the experience. It's a very powerful account, as we're getting first person from the person that it actually happened to, not a ghostwriter. It's a very important insight into what some victims might end up going through. So this book, I think, would be a helpful tool for anyone who has gone through a situation like this, or anyone who is trying to help someone in their life that has gone through the situation like this. You don't have to be the one to have been in the situation, but if you know somebody, this book might be able to help you understand a little bit more about what they're going through and may not be able to tell you. I did enjoy it. It was a very good read. Definitely recommend this to people. What else did I read in August? I also read Devolution, a first-hand account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre by Max Brooks. This was actually an audiobook, and just like Wake Up, Open Your Eyes, it was one that I enjoyed. And I wanted to pay attention to it, so I took my time with it. It wasn't just for driving. I did listen to it at work some. It's exactly what the title says. It's a secluded community out in Colorado, gets blocked in when a volcano erupts, and the volcano erupting brings the Sasquatch out of the mountains to their community because they have to move away from the ash that's falling and follow the food because the other animals are doing it also. So they come upon the community and they terrorize the community, and this is the story of that, and it's told mostly in journal entries and news reports, things like that. Next book that I read in August, yeah, I read a lot that was not on my TBR, was Why I Love Horror, Essays on Horror Literature. I really enjoyed this one. Basically, it's a book of essays written by popular horror authors answering the editor's question of, why do you love horror? I think if you're a horror fan or just simply a writer, this is a wonderful look into a handful of authors' insights on why they write what they write and how they got to the point of knowing what it was that was going to be best for them to write. I found that all of the essays had something that I could relate to. This may not be the same for everyone, but I do believe that I think everyone could find at least one essay in here that they can relate to, whether they're horror fans or not. There are also book recommendations and author recommendations in each chapter, which I plan on utilizing. And yes, I do definitely recommend this book. And that's it. That is what I read in August. My plan is to not go off my TBR as much as I did previously and just use my TBR as the books to pull from. If I don't get them all, I don't get them all. If I add something else in, I add something else in. But hopefully from now on, I do prioritize the TBR, because it gets books off of my TBR, and most of the books I'm choosing are ones I own, so it gets them off my physical TBR. If I don't want to keep them, I can get rid of them and make room. And pretty much everything I've been picking has been on my 2025 TBR, which I am so behind on. I don't think I will be able to finish it, but we'll see. And that's August. So did you read any of these books? Do you agree with me? Are you now interested in any of these books that I read? Please let me know down in the comments. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, down in the comments. If you don't have anything to say and you want to help my channel by leaving a comment anyway, how about we use a cat emoji this time? So just drop that down there and I will comment back. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.